Everyone questioned why a successful businessman would adopt 8 unwanted girls. Years later, during a special celebration, his tears revealed the truth. James Morrison's fork clinked against the china plate, the sound echoing through the vast dining room. He sat alone at the head of a table meant for 12, his dinner growing cold as he stared at the empty chairs. At 45, he had everything money could buy and no one to share it with. The grandfather clock in the hallway struck 8. James pushed away his barely-touched salmon and reached for his phone, scrolling through endless business emails. Another successful day at Morrison Enterprises, another evening of silence. Sir Henderson, his house manager, appeared in the doorway. The orphanage called to confirm your visit tomorrow for the quarterly donation. Right. James loosened his tie. What time? 10 a.m., sir. Shall I have the car ready? No need. I'll drive myself. James stood, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Any other messages? Your sister's portrait has been reframed, as requested. Would you like me to hang it in the study? James's jaw tightened. Leave it. I'll do it myself. Later that night, James stood in his study, holding Sarah's portrait. His sister's smile beamed back at him, frozen at 19 forever. He traced the edge of the new frame, remembering their last conversation. I'm going to have the biggest family, Jamie, she'd said, using his childhood nickname. Just watch. At least 8 kids. Maybe more. You're crazy, Sarah, he'd laughed. She never got the chance. The cancer took her 3 months later. James placed the portrait on his desk and poured himself a scotch. The study, like the rest of the mansion, felt too big, too empty. He'd built his empire, just as he'd promised Sarah he would. But what was the point? The next morning, James pulled his Mercedes into the parking lot of Boston Children's Haven. The brick building looked exactly as it had 3 months ago during his last donation visit. Miss Thompson, the director, met him at the entrance. Mr. Morrison, always a pleasure. She extended her hand. The board is excited to discuss your generous contribution. Actually, James adjusted his white suit jacket. I'd like to see the children first today. Miss Thompson's smile faltered slightly. Of course. They are in the recreation room. Though I should warn you, it's a bit chaotic at the moment. We have a challenging group of sisters. The noise hit him as soon as they approached the rec room. 8 girls, ranging from what looked like 6 to 16, all black, all with varying shades of confusion and wariness on their faces as he entered. Girls, Miss Thompson clapped her hands. This is Mr. Morrison, one of our generous donors. The oldest girl stepped forward, positioning herself slightly in front of her younger sisters. I'm Destiny, she said, chin raised. These are my sisters. James noticed how the others clustered behind her, a well-practiced formation. Nice to meet you, Destiny. All of you are sisters. Yes, she said firmly. We stay together. Miss Thompson cleared her throat. The girls have been with us for 8 months. Their situation is complicated. Because no one wants 8 of us, one of the middle girls said quietly. Jasmine, Destiny warned, but James had already heard. No one wants 8, he asked. 3 families tried, another sister spoke up. They always want to split us up. Take 2 or 3. But we won't let them. James watched as the youngest girl gripped Destiny's hand tighter. Something in his chest shifted, a recognition of the fierce protection in Destiny's eyes, the same look Sarah used to give him when neighborhood kids picked on him as a child. Mr. Morrison, Miss Thompson touched his arm. The board is waiting. In a minute, James sat down on one of the worn couches. Tell me your names. One by one, they introduced themselves. Destiny, 16, Jasmine, 14, Kira, 13, twins Maya and Mia, 12, Zoe, 10, Olivia, 8, and little Angela, 6. Do you like board games? James asked, noticing the scattered Monopoly pieces on a nearby table. Angela's face lit up. I'm the race car. She cheats, Zoe said, earning a stuck-out tongue from her youngest sister. James found himself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in what felt like years. Mr. Morrison. Miss Thompson's voice was firmer now. The board. In the conference room, James half listened to the board members discuss allocation of his latest donation. His mind kept drifting to the rec room, to 8 sisters determined to stay together. One more thing, Gerald Matthews, the board president, shuffled some papers. About those sisters. We may need to consider alternative arrangements. James sat up straighter. What do you mean? It's been 8 months. No family can realistically take all of them. For their own good, I'll take them. The room fell silent. Matthews blinked. I'm sorry. I want to adopt them. All of them, Mr. Morrison. Miss Thompson leaned forward. With all due respect, you're a single man with no parenting experience. 8 children, especially older children with their background. It's not realistic. My background? James raised an eyebrow. Or theirs? Matthews coughed. We simply mean . I know exactly what you mean. James stood. I want to begin the adoption process. Today. It's not that simple, Miss Thompson protested. There are home studies, evaluations, cultural considerations . Then let's start now. James pulled out his phone. My lawyers will be here in an hour. That night, James stood in his study again, Sarah's portrait watching as he paced. The initial paperwork sat on his desk, along with 100 questions running through his mind. Was he crazy? Could he really raise 8 girls? What did he know about being a father? His phone buzzed. Another board member trying to talk him out of it. He silenced it and walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling grounds of his estate. 8 bedrooms sat empty upstairs. 8 chairs sat unused around his dining table. 8 kids, he whispered, remembering Sarah's words. Maybe more. The grandfather clock struck midnight. In a few hours, he'd return to the orphanage to begin the home study process. The board would fight him. Society would question him. His own company might doubt him. James touched Sarah's portrait one last time before heading upstairs. Let them doubt. Let them question. 8 sisters needed a home, and he had one to give. In his too-quiet bedroom, he set his alarm and lay down, knowing it might be one of his last peaceful nights for a long time. He wasn't sure if he was ready to be a father, but he was sure of one thing. Those girls belonged together, and he would make damn sure they stayed that way. The ceiling fan spun lazily overhead as James closed his eyes, his mind already racing with plans for bedroom colors, school registrations, and everything else he'd need to learn. Tomorrow would begin the biggest challenge of his life. But for the first time in years, the silence of his mansion didn't feel quite so heavy. 3 weeks after signing the initial paperwork, James stood in what used to be his perfectly organized home office, now transformed into a makeshift command center. 8 different paint swatches decorated the walls, and furniture catalogs covered every surface. Sir, Henderson appeared in the doorway. The contractors are ready to begin the bedroom renovations. Good? James checked his watch. They have exactly 6 days to finish before . Mr. Morrison. Miss Thompson's voice echoed through his phone speaker. We need to discuss the home study results. James picked up the phone. Everything passed inspection, didn't it? Well, yes, but . Then we proceed as planned. The girls move in next Friday. There was a long pause. Are you absolutely certain about this? James looked at the photo he'd taken of the sisters during one of his daily visits. Destiny helping Angela with a puzzle, Jasmine braiding Kira's hair, the twins sharing a book, Zoe and Olivia drawing together. More certain than I've ever been. The next 6 days passed in a blur of activity. James threw himself into preparations with the same intensity he usually reserved for corporate takeovers. He hired experts to teach him about black hair care, enrolled in parenting classes, and read every book he could find on adopting older children. Friday morning arrived with a mix of sunshine and nervous energy. James adjusted his tie for the 10th time as he waited in the orphanage front office. Ready? Miss Thompson asked, her clipboard clutched tightly. Before James could answer, excited voices filled the hallway. The girls appeared with their few belongings packed in mismatched bags and suitcases. Is it really happening? Angela bounced on her toes, her small backpack covered in unicorn stickers. It's really happening, baby girl, Destiny said, though James caught the slight tremor in her voice. The drive home felt surreal. James had rented a small bus to transport everyone together, not wanting to separate them even for the short journey. In the rearview mirror, he watched 8 faces press against windows as they approached the mansion's gates. Holy shit, Jasmine whispered, earning an elbow from Destiny. I mean, holy cow, this is where we're gonna live. Zoe's eyes widened. Language, James said automatically, then cleared his throat. And yes, this is home. Your home. The word home hung in the air as they pulled up to the front door. Henderson stood waiting, along with Marie, the new nanny James had hired specifically for her experience with adopted children. "Welcome home, young ladies," Henderson said formally, though James noticed his usually stoic house manager's lips twitching into a smile. The next few hours dissolved into controlled chaos. James had planned to show everyone around systematically, but excitement took over. The girls scattered to explore, their voices echoing through previously silent halls. "This room has a window seat. Look at the size of this closet. There's a pool. Can we really pick our own colors?" James found himself trailing behind, watching as each girl gravitated toward different spaces. The twins immediately claimed adjacent rooms with a shared balcony. Destiny chose a corner room with a view of both the front drive and the gardens. Strategic, James noted, for keeping watch over her sisters. "Mr. Morrison," Angela tugged at his sleeve. "Where's your room?" "Down the hall," he pointed. "And you can call me James." "Oh." He hesitated. "Whatever feels comfortable." Angela nodded seriously. "Can I have the room with the butterfly wallpaper?" "Of course. Though we can change it if you'd like something else." "No." Her eyes went wide. "I love butterflies." Later, as Marie helped everyone unpack and get settled, James retreated to the kitchen to check on dinner preparations. He'd asked the chef to prepare comfort food, mac and cheese, fried chicken, fresh rolls, and a variety of vegetables. "Sir," Henderson appeared. "Perhaps we should review proper dining etiquette dash." "Not tonight," James cut him off. "Tonight we just... Bleh." Their first family dinner was nothing like the formal affairs James was used to. Elbows hit the table, milk got spilled, and at least 3 different conversations happened simultaneously. "Am I? Pass the mac and cheese." "It's Maya, not MIA. "Sorry, you're wearing the same shirt." "That's why we're twins." James sat at the head of the table, no longer alone, trying to follow everything at once. He noticed Olivia barely touching her food, pushing it around her plate. "Not hungry?" he asked quietly. She shrugged. "What if we don't like it here?" The table got quieter. James put down his fork. "Then we'll figure it out together. This is your home now, for as long as you want it to be." "Forever?" Angela asked through a mouthful of chicken. "Angela, swallow first," Destiny corrected automatically. James looked around the table, meeting each pair of eyes. "Yes, forever." Bedtime proved to be its own adventure. Despite Marie's help, James found himself running between rooms, answering questions about everything from bathroom schedules to nightlight preferences. "What if we need something at night?" Kira asked as he helped her set up her new desk lamp. "Then you come find me," James said. "My door will always be open." He didn't expect to be tested on that promise quite so soon. Around 2 a.m., a small knock woke him. "Come in?" Angela stood in the doorway, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. "I had a bad dream." James sat up. "Want to talk about it?" She shook her head but crept closer. "Can I stay here? Just for a little bit?" "Of course." She climbed onto the bed, keeping a careful distance. They sat in silence for a few minutes before she spoke again. "Are you really keeping all of us? Really, really? Even when we're bad?" James turned to look at her. "Even then?" Angela nodded, clutching her rabbit tighter. Within minutes, she was asleep. James stayed awake, watching her breathe, feeling the weight of his promise. The next morning brought new challenges. The bathroom schedule Marie had carefully crafted fell apart immediately. Hair products got mixed up. Toothbrushes were misplaced. Somehow, they managed to get everyone dressed and downstairs for breakfast. "We need to go shopping," James announced over pancakes. "Everyone needs more clothes, school supplies. Can we pick our own stuff?" Zoe asked cautiously. "Within reason," James nodded. "Make lists of what you need." The shopping trip turned into an all-day expedition. James quickly learned that 8 different personalities meant 8 different styles, 8 different favorite colors, and 8 different definitions of necessary. "But I need these shoes." "Your old ones are fine, Jas." "Destiny, you're not mom." "Girls," James intervened, "let's focus on basics first. Then we can talk about extras." By the time they returned home, the SUV was packed with bags, and James had a newfound respect for family budgeting, despite his wealth. But watching each girl carefully arrange their new possessions in their rooms made every penny worth it. That evening, James ordered pizza and suggested a movie night. To his surprise, they all agreed on a film without much argument. an animated feature about a found family. Halfway through the movie, James looked around the media room. Angela had fallen asleep against Destiny's shoulder. The twins shared a blanket, whispering commentary to each other. Jasmine and Kira had gradually shifted closer to him on the couch. Zoe and Olivia sat on floor cushions, completely absorbed in the story. For the first time since they'd arrived, everyone seemed truly relaxed. No one was watching the exits or jumping at unexpected sounds. They were just being. James? Olivia turned during a quiet scene. Can we do this again tomorrow? He smiled, feeling something warm settle in his chest. We can do this whenever you want. As credits rolled and girls started heading upstairs for bed, Destiny hung back. Thank you, she said quietly, for keeping us together. James wanted to hug her but knew it was too soon. Instead, he said, thank you for trusting me to try. Later, lying in bed, James listened to the new sounds of his home. Footsteps in the hallway, muffled giggles, the distant sound of a shower running. The silence was gone, replaced by something infinitely better. His phone buzzed with another message from the board, probably more concerns about his decision. He ignored it. Let them worry. His family was home. Destiny, your bus leaves in 20 minutes. James called up the stairs, checking his watch for the 10th time. Jasmine, did you find your science folder? It's not my fault. Jasmine's voice echoed from somewhere upstairs. MIA took it. I'm Maya. No, you're not. James rubbed his temples. 2 weeks had passed since the girls moved in, and their first day of school loomed before them like an approaching storm. The kitchen counter disappeared under a mountain of registration papers, medical forms, and school supply lists. Marie appeared with Angela in tow, the youngest sister's hair only half done. Mr. Morrison, we have a situation. I hate these braids. Angela squirmed. They are too tight. Baby girl, sit still. Destiny came down the stairs, already dressed in her new school uniform. Let me help. James watched as Destiny took over, her fingers moving with practiced ease through Angela's hair. He'd been practicing basic hair care, but the intricacies still escaped him. You don't have to do everything, Destiny, he said quietly. I know, she replied, not looking up. But I want to. For now. The doorbell rang, making everyone jump. Henderson opened it to reveal Mrs. Patterson, their next-door neighbor, holding a pie tin. I thought I'd welcome the new additions, she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Though I must say, Mr. Morrison, the neighborhood committee has some concerns about noise levels. James took the pie, his corporate smile firmly in place. Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Patterson. We're adjusting. Yes, well. Her eyes drifted to where Kira and Zoe were racing down the stairs. Perhaps some structure would be beneficial. My husband knows an excellent military academy dash. They are staying here. James cut her off. All of them. Have a good day, Mrs. Patterson. He closed the door on her startled face, turning to find Destiny watching. They don't want us here, she said flatly. They don't matter, James replied. This is your home. The first day of school arrived with dawn breaking over manicured lawns and perfectly spaced maple trees. James had arranged for Henderson to drive the younger girls while he took Destiny, Jasmine, and Kira to the private academy himself. Everyone has their phones, he checked as they pulled up to the imposing brick building. Emergency numbers. We've got it. Jasmine rolled her eyes, but her hand shook slightly as she adjusted her backpack. Mr. Morrison, the principal, Dr. Richards, waited at the entrance. A word. James followed him into the office, leaving the girls in the hallway. Through the glass, he watched other students stare and whisper. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Richards settled behind his desk. While we appreciate your charitable inclinations, we need to discuss realistic expectations. James's jaw tightened. Meaning, our academic standards are quite rigorous. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds often struggle to keep up. Perhaps a transitional program dash. My daughters will do fine, James stood. But I expect them to receive the same support and opportunities as any other student. Are we clear? Quite. Dr. Richards's smile turned cold. Though the PTA might have additional concerns, I look forward to addressing them. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to check on my girls. The day crawled by. James barely focused in his board meeting, checking his phone constantly for messages. None came until 2:15. Need you at the elementary school, Marie's text read. Now. He found Angela crying in the principal's office, Olivia beside her with a stormy expression. What happened? Tommy said we're not really sisters, 'cause we don't match you. Angela hiccuped. And that you only took us for attention. James knelt before her chair. Angela, look at me. You are my daughter. All of you are my daughters. Some families match on the outside, some don't. But we match where it matters. In here. He touched her heart. I punched Tommy, Olivia announced. James closed his eyes briefly. We'll discuss appropriate responses later. That evening, he called a family meeting in the media room. 8 faces looked back at him with varying degrees of exhaustion and weariness. Today was hard, he began. That's an understatement, Kira muttered. But we're going to figure it out. Together. James paced the room. I need to know what you're dealing with. All of it. Slowly, the stories came out. Whispered comments in hallways. Teachers who spoke slower, as if they couldn't understand. Students who avoided sitting with them at lunch. Ms. Peterson asked if I was really ready for honors math. Jasmine said bitterly. I had straight A's at my old school. And the gym teacher kept touching my hair, MIA added. Said it was fascinating. James made notes on his phone, anger building with each revelation. This stops now, but I need you to promise me something. No more punching, even if they deserve it. Olivia asked hopefully. Even then, we'll find better ways. Later that night, unable to sleep, James found himself in the kitchen. To his surprise, Destiny sat at the counter, nursing a cup of tea. Can't sleep? He asked, pulling out another mug. She shook her head. Do you know how to do rope braids? What? For Angela's hair. She saw them on another girl today. I usually do basic braids, but show me. For the next hour, Destiny taught him basic braid patterns using a doll head he'd bought for practice. His fingers felt clumsy, but he kept trying. Why are you doing all this? She finally asked. Because you're my daughters. But why us? Why all of us? James set down the comb. Because you deserve to stay together. Because every child deserves a home. And because, he paused, because I was lonely, and you needed family, and sometimes the best things in life aren't planned. The next morning, James marched into the elementary school armed with documentation about cultural sensitivity and hair-touching policies. He scheduled meetings with every teacher, joined the PTA, and made it clear that his daughters would be treated with respect. At the academy, he donated a new library wing with one condition, a mandatory cultural awareness program for all staff and students. You can't just throw money at everything, Destiny said when she heard. Watch me, James replied. Weeks passed. Slowly, routines emerged. The girls found their rhythms, learned to navigate their new schools, began to make friends who saw past the whispers. One evening, James passed Angela's room and heard laughter. Inside, all 8 girls sprawled across the bed and floor, practicing hair techniques on each other. Dad! Angela called out. Look what Destiny taught me. James froze in the doorway. It was the first time any of them had called him Dad. Very nice, he managed, his voice rough. Later, helping Angela get ready for bed, she asked, Is it okay that I called you Dad? More than okay. Can I do it again? Whenever you want. She hugged him, quick and fierce, before diving under her covers. Night, Dad. James walked through his quiet house, no longer silent, but settled. Family photos began to fill the walls. Homework covered tables. Shoes cluttered the entryway. His phone buzzed. Another complaint from Mrs. Patterson about the noise level. James blocked her number. In his study, Sarah's portrait watched as he worked on school forms and activity schedules. You'd love them, he told her. All of them. A knock at his door revealed Kira, clutching a math textbook. Can you help? There's this problem. Come in, James smiled, clearing space on his desk. Show me. Outside his window, maple leaves danced in the autumn wind. Somewhere upstairs, music played softly. Voices called goodnight. Doors closed. James helped Kira with her homework, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, in this moment, everything felt right. They were finding their way, one day at a time. The text message came during James's board meeting. Emergency at Academy. Come now. James stood mid-presentation, ignoring the startled looks from his executives. Meeting adjourned. He found Jasmine in the nurse's office, holding an ice pack to her face. Destiny paced nearby, fists clenched. What happened? Nothing, Jasmine muttered. Like hell nothing, Destiny snapped. Tell him. Before Jasmine could respond, Dr. Richards appeared, followed by a well-dressed couple and their daughter, a blonde girl with a red mark on her cheek. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Richards began, we have a serious situation. I can see that. James knelt by Jasmine. Let me see. She lowered the ice pack, revealing a swollen eye. James's stomach clenched. Your daughter attacked Chelsea, the girl's father said. Unprovoked. Liar. Destiny stepped forward. They've been harassing her for weeks. Mr. Morrison, control your dash. Choose your next words very carefully. James cut him off, standing. Now, Jasmine, tell me what happened. All of it. Jasmine glanced between the adults, then straightened. They corner me after AP history. Every day. Making comments. Today they said. She swallowed. They said I only got in because you paid extra for diversity points. That I'm just your charity case. Chelsea said. Her voice cracked. What did she say? That you'd probably return us once you got enough PR from your rescue mission. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. James turned to Dr. Richards. Where's the security footage? I hardly think the footage. Now. 20 minutes later, they watched Chelsea and her friends surround Jasmine in the hallway. No audio, but the body language was clear. When Chelsea shoved Jasmine into the lockers, Jasmine pushed back. Self-defense, James said quietly. After weeks of documented harassment. Now see here, Chelsea's father started. No, you see. James turned. My daughter defended herself after enduring racist bullying that your staff either ignored or encouraged. I have two options. I can call my lawyers and let them handle this very publicly, or Dr. Richards paled. Or we address the root problem. Now, the next 2 hours involved heated discussions about systemic racism, mandatory sensitivity training, and policy changes. By the end, Chelsea faced suspension. Her parents looked shell-shocked, and Dr. Richards signed off on a new anti-harassment initiative. In the car afterward, Jasmine stayed silent until they reached home. I'm sorry, she finally said. For what? Making trouble. Maybe if we just ignored it. Stop. James parked but didn't get out. You never apologize for standing up for yourself. Never. That night, James couldn't sleep. He reviewed security footage from both schools, made calls, dug deeper. The pattern emerged. Subtle discrimination masked as concerns, different standards, ignored complaints. Morning brought new resolve. He walked into the academy, straight to Ms. Peterson's classroom. Mr. Morrison. She looked up from her desk. First period hasn't . Let's talk about why you moved Jasmine to remedial math. Her placement test . The one you made her retake 3 times? Despite her previous straight A's. He placed a folder on her desk. Interesting how none of the other transfer students needed multiple tests. She flushed. If you're implying . I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Reinstate her in honors math. Or I take this to the board. Similar conversations followed. The gym teacher who kept touching the twins' hair. The English teacher who forgot to call on Kira. The science lab partner assignments that consistently left his daughters isolated. You can't fight everyone, Destiny said that evening, finding him in his study reviewing incident reports. Watch me, Dad. The words still felt new, precious. Sometimes it's just how it is. It shouldn't be. He rubbed his eyes. And it won't be. Not for you. Not anymore. The next week brought changes. Teachers caught themselves, corrected biases. Students received swift consequences for casual comments. But the real change came from the girls themselves. Jasmine aced her honors math test. The twins joined the debate team. Kira's science project won first place. They are thriving, Marie observed, watching them do homework together. Despite everything, James agreed. Because of everything, she corrected. And because of you. The media caught wind of their story. Requests for interviews piled up. Local news vans parked outside. Morrison's Angels, one headline read. Millionaire's social experiment, sneered another. We're not an experiment, Zoe said fiercely over breakfast, crumpling the newspaper. We're a family. James's corporate board called an emergency meeting. The company image dash, shareholders have concerns dash, perhaps a leave of absence dash. James let them talk. When they finished, he stood. I built this company from nothing. Doubled profits 5 years running. Any questions about my leadership? Silence. Good. Because my family? Non-negotiable. I'll resign before I let anyone suggest otherwise. He left them sputtering, driving straight to the elementary school for Angela's art show. Found all his daughters there, supporting their youngest sister. Dad! Angela ran to him. Look what I made. A family portrait. 8 girls. 1 dad. Different colors, same smile. It's perfect, he said, and meant it. That evening, they had their first family therapy session. Dr. Warner specialized in adoptive families, understood the complexities. How are we feeling? She asked. Silence, then, scared, from Olivia. Angry, Jasmine admitted. Hopeful, Angela piped up. Tired, Destiny sighed. All valid, Dr. Warner nodded. Mr. Morrison. James looked at his daughters. Determined. They talked about fear, about loss, about belonging, about what family means, about fighting battles you shouldn't have to fight. Sometimes, Dr. Warner said, the hardest part isn't the big moments. It's the small cuts, the daily reminders that some people see you differently. But not everyone, Mia argued. Sarah in my class stood up for me yesterday. Yeah, Maya added. And Mr. Johnson actually listened when I explained about the hair touching. Small victories. Tiny steps forward. The press continued calling. James continued declining. Their story belonged to them, not the media circus. One morning, James arrived at his office to find his assistant, Linda, beaming. What? Board meeting notes. She handed him a paper. Profits up 12% this quarter. Seems your social experiment is good for business. He allowed himself a small smile. Let them see. Let them all see. That afternoon, he left early to watch Kira's soccer game. All 8 girls attended, cheering from the bleachers. Other parents stared. James didn't care. Kira scored the winning goal. Her sisters rushed the field. James watched them celebrate. These fierce, resilient daughters of his. Later, helping Angela with homework, she asked, Dad, are we different? Yes, he said honestly. But different isn't wrong. Different is just different. Like how you can't braid as good as Destiny. He laughed. Exactly like that. The house settled into evening routines. Homework, dinner, stories, dreams. James sat in his study, reviewing the day's battles. Tomorrow would bring new ones. Always did. But they'd face them together. A knock at his door. Destiny. Dad? Got a minute? He smiled. Always. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were fighting back. Growing stronger. Proving everyone wrong, one day at a time. Different. But family. Always family. And that made all the difference. Dad! Dad! Wake up! James jolted awake to find Zoe bouncing on the edge of his bed, waving a flyer. Art club is having tryouts. She thrust the paper at him. Can I go? Please. He squinted at his bedside clock, 6:15 a.m. Tryouts. It's not just a club, Zoe explained rapidly. It's like a special program. With real artists and exhibitions and everything. Of course you can try out. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. When is it? Today after school. Her smile faltered slightly. But, what if I'm not good enough? Before James could respond, Destiny appeared in the doorway. You kidding? Show him the sketch. Zoe pulled a folded paper from her pocket. James unfolded it to find a detailed drawing of their family at dinner. Every expression captured perfectly, down to Angela's milk mustache. Zoe, he breathed, this is amazing. She beamed. Word spread quickly that morning. Zoe had found her thing. Suddenly, everyone wanted their thing. Basketball tryouts are next week, Kira announced at breakfast. Drama clubs doing the Wheeze, Jasmine added. Science fair applications are due Friday, Maya and Mia said simultaneously. James looked at Marie over his coffee. She smiled and started a new activities calendar. Destiny hung back as everyone rushed to get ready for school. I was thinking, the school paper needs a new editor. Yeah, I like writing. Telling stories that matter. James thought of all her old journals, the way she documented everything. The paper would be lucky to have you. The next few weeks transformed their already busy schedule into organized chaos. James learned to navigate between basketball practice, art club, drama rehearsals, science club meetings, and newspaper deadlines. Zoe's art club tryout came first. James sat in his car afterward, waiting, when she burst out of the building in tears. His heart sank. "Honey Dash, I got in." She threw herself into his arms. "I got in, Dad." The art teacher, Ms. Chen, followed her out. "Mr. Morrison, a word." "Here we go," James thought. But Ms. Chen smiled. "Your daughter has extraordinary talent. Raw, but real. I'd like to enter her work in the state youth exhibition." That night, they hung Zoe's sketch in the dining room, their first family portrait. Next came Kira's basketball tryouts. James watched from the bleachers as she outran, outshot, and outplayed girls twice her size. "She's got game," the coach admitted. First string, the twins took longer to find their path. They tried everything together until the science fair. "I want to do biology," Maya said. "I want to do physics," Mia argued. Their first real fight as sisters ended with a revelation. They could be different. Their project won first place, a joint presentation on how biology and physics intersect in sports science. Jasmine owned the stage at drama auditions. Her Dorothy silenced the room. "Where'd you learn to sing like that?" James asked afterward. "Used to sing to the little ones. In the group homes. Help them sleep." He hugged her tight. Olivia discovered gymnastics by accident during a school field trip to a local gym. The coach spotted her doing cartwheels and called James immediately. "Natural talent," she said. "Raw power. With training." Angela, not to be left out, joined a children's choir. Her voice, sweet and clear, brought tears to James's eyes during their first concert. But it was Destiny's story for the school paper that changed everything. "Family Beyond Blood," she showed him the draft. "About adoption. About us." He read it slowly, carefully. Her words painted their journey. The struggles, the triumphs, the daily acts of love that built their bond. "It's personal," she said nervously. "It's perfect." The story went viral. Other adopted kids reached out. Other families like theirs. Destiny found her voice, telling stories that needed telling. Their house transformed. Art supplies cluttered Zoe's room. Basketball thumped against the backboard. Music drifted from Jasmine's rehearsal space. The twins converted the garage into a science lab. Olivia practiced tumbling in the yard. Angela's choir music played on repeat. And through it all, Destiny wrote. "I never thought," she told James one night, curled up in his study. "After Mom died, in the group homes, I never thought we'd have this." "Have what?" "A chance to be ourselves. Not just survivors." The first family showcase night arrived, an evening celebrating everyone's talents. James invited the entire community. Zoe's artwork lined the walls. Kira demonstrated basketball drills. The twins explained their science experiments. Jasmine performed songs from the Wheeze. Olivia did a gymnastics routine. Angela sang with her choir group. Destiny read her stories. Mrs. Patterson came, watched, left without comment. The next day, a gift arrived. 8 journals, one for each girl, with a note. "I was wrong. Your family is beautiful." Small victories. One morning, James found Angela staring at Zoe's family portrait. "What's wrong, sunshine?" "Nothing." She touched the glass. "Just, we all found our special things." "That's good, isn't it?" "Yeah." She smiled. "But the best thing is we're still together." "That's better than any special thing." James lifted her up, studying the portrait. 8 different paths, one family. That evening, he added a new tradition, talent night. Once a month, everyone shared their progress. Not for competition, just celebration. "Even you, Dad," Angela insisted. "I don't have a talent," he protested. "Sure you do," Destiny said. "You love us. That's the biggest talent." He tried not to cry. The house filled with ribbons, trophies, certificates. But more importantly, it filled with confidence, pride, joy. Each girl blooming in her own way, supported by sisters who understood. Late one night, James found Zoe adding to her family portrait. Small details, Kira's basketball, Jasmine's script, the twins' lab coats, Olivia's leotard, Angela's choir robe. Destiny's notebook. What about me? He asked. She pointed to the center, where he stood surrounded by his daughters. You're the heart, she said simply. Holding us all together. James touched the picture gently. 8 paths, 8 dreams, 1 family. They were finding their way, each in their own direction, but always leading home. To each other. To him. To love that gave them wings and roots, both. Different talents, different dreams. Same heart. Family. What do you mean you've never been to the beach? James looked up from his laptop, staring at his daughters scattered around the living room. We saw it in movies, Angela offered from her spot on the floor, where she was coloring. Once we drove past one, Jasmine added. On the way to a foster home. James closed his laptop. That's it. We're going on vacation. Next week. 8 faces turned to him with varying expressions of shock, excitement, and uncertainty. But Destiny started. I've already cleared it with your teachers, James said. We need this. Real family time. The next week brought chaos as they prepared for their first family vacation. Marie helped them shop for swimsuits and beach gear while James booked an entire floor of a beachfront hotel. What if I can't swim? Olivia whispered to him while packing. Then we'll learn together. The morning of departure looked like a military operation gone wrong. Suitcases cluttered the foyer. Arguments erupted over seating arrangements in the rental van. I get carsick in the back. Well, I get carsick in the middle. Nobody sits behind me, James announced. I need to see when you're throwing things. 4 hours into the drive, they hit their first crisis. Angela needed a bathroom. Immediately. The next rest stop was 30 miles away. I can't hold it. James spotted a small diner. Not ideal. But, emergency stop, he announced, swerving into the parking lot. Inside, the elderly waitress took one look at their group and raised an eyebrow. All yours? She asked James. All mine, he confirmed proudly. They ended up staying for lunch. The waitress, Betty, brought extra fries and told stories about raising her own large family. Love's what makes a family, she told them. Nothing else matters. Back on the road, spirits lifted. They played card games, sang along to music, Jasmine leading, and shared snacks. Finally, ocean appeared on the horizon. Look, Angela pressed against the window. It's so big. The hotel staff seemed overwhelmed by their energy, but James's platinum credit card smoothed the way. Beach first, he suggested. Beach first, 8 voices agreed. They changed quickly, racing down to the sand. James watched as each daughter approached the ocean differently. Angela ran straight in, fearless. Destiny tested the water cautiously. Jasmine posed for selfies. Kira looked for shells. The twins collected water samples. Zoe sketched the waves. Olivia hung back, uncertain. Together, James offered his hand to Olivia. She nodded, gripping tight. Step by step, they waded in. When the first wave hit their knees, Olivia squealed, but didn't retreat. I've got you, James promised. By sunset, everyone had conquered their fears. Even Olivia was jumping waves with her sisters. That night, sprawled across their hotel beds, they planned the rest of their week. Aquarium tomorrow. And the boardwalk. Can we try surfing? Dad, will you bury me in sand? James watched them plot and plan, their excitement infectious. This was what family vacations should be. The week flew by. They built sandcastles, tried new foods, learned to bodyboard. James took hundreds of photos, capturing every moment. Destiny teaching Angela to float. Jasmine singing karaoke on the boardwalk. Kira winning a basketball game at the arcade. The twins classifying seashells. Zoe painting sunsets. Olivia mastering the waves. Their last night, they had dinner at a fancy beachfront restaurant. James had worried about manners and proper behavior. But his daughters surprised him, poised, polite, perfect. When did you all grow up so much? He wondered aloud. We had a good teacher. Destiny smiled. Back home, photos went up on walls. Seashells decorated windowsills. Plans began for their next trip. But life brought other challenges first. Jasmine's first crush ended in tears when the boy's parents forbade him from dating her. Because I'm black, she asked James that night, curled up in his study. Because they are ignorant, he corrected, holding her close. The next day, All 7 sisters orchestrated an epic Who Needs Boys Anyway sleepover. Ice cream, movies, makeovers. Jasmine laughed until she forgot to be sad. Then came Kira's basketball championship. Her team was down by 2 points with seconds left. James and all her sisters screamed themselves hoarse as she sank the winning three-pointer. "That's my sister," Angela yelled proudly to anyone who would listen. The twins faced their first academic setback when their advanced chemistry experiment failed. "We're stupid," MIA declared. "No," Maya argued, "we're learning." They rebuilt their project, better than before. Won first place at nationals. Family game nights became legendary. Monopoly banned after the Great Property War. Pictionary led to laughing fits. Charades brought out everyone's dramatic side. "Not fair," Olivia complained. Jasmine's had acting lessons. "Life's not fair," Jasmine struck a pose. "But I am fabulous." Weekend cooking adventures turned the kitchen into a war zone. James taught them his mother's recipes. They taught him about trying new things. "What is this?" He eyed Angela's creative sandwich combination. "Just try it, Dad." He did. It wasn't horrible. Holidays approached. Their first Christmas together brought questions about traditions. "What did you used to do?" James asked. Silence. "Then we make our own traditions," he decided. They decorated every inch of the house. Made ornaments. Baked cookies. Sang carols, led by Angela and Jasmine. Christmas morning, James woke to 8 excited faces at his bedroom door. "Presents." "Breakfast first," he insisted. They'd all saved allowances, done extra chores, to buy gifts. James received 8 uniquely perfect presents: a tie painted by Zoe, a basketball signed by Kira's team, a science experiment kit from the twins, a recorded song from Jasmine, a gymnastics performance from Olivia, a choir concert ticket from Angela, a handwritten story from Destiny. "Your turn," he said, bringing out 8 small boxes. Inside each, a key. "To the house," he explained. "You're home. Forever." Later that night, watching them all sleep during their traditional Christmas movie marathon, James reflected on how far they'd come. From strangers to family. From scared to strong. From alone to together. The house felt different now. Lived in. Loved in. Every room held memories. The kitchen where they baked birthday cakes. The living room where they built blanket forts. The backyard where they stargazed. The study where they shared secrets. Late-night talks became sacred. Each daughter knew Dad's door was always open. "Why us?" Destiny asked during one such talk. Out of all the kids who needed homes. James thought about Sarah's dream. About loneliness. About fate. "Because we needed each other," he said simply. And they did. Still did. Always would. The bonds grew stronger every day. Through victories and setbacks. Laughter and tears. Love and learning. They weren't perfect. They still argued. Still faced prejudice. Still had bad days. But they faced it together. Family. Forever. Home. The first envelope arrived on a Tuesday. Destiny stood in the kitchen, staring at the Harvard logo like it might disappear. Her hands shook. "Open it," James urged, his own heart racing. "What if Dash?" "Open it." She tore the envelope carefully. Unfolded the letter. "Read." Silence. "Well," 7 voices demanded. A smile broke across her face. "I got in." The kitchen erupted. Hugs. Screams. Tears. James held his eldest daughter, remembering the fierce 16-year-old who'd first stood protecting her sisters in that orphanage. Now she was 18. College-bound. Growing up. More letters followed. Columbia's journalism program wanted Destiny too. Yale showed interest. Stanford made an offer. "They're fighting over you," Jasmine teased. But James noticed Destiny's smiles growing tighter, more forced. "Talk to me," he said that night, finding her in his study. "Harvard's my dream, but—" She twisted her hands. "It's so far. The little ones are not your responsibility," he finished gently. "You've been their protector for so long. Let me take that weight now." "But who'll help Angela with her homework? Or check if Olivia's okay after gymnastics? Or Dash, me? Their dad. Your dad." James took her hands. "You deserve your dreams, Destiny. We'll be okay." She cried then, really cried, years of responsibility finally cracking. The decision letters kept coming. Not just for Destiny. Jasmine got early acceptance to NYU's drama program. Kira received a basketball scholarship to UConn. The twins were courted by MIT's science department. When did they all grow up? James asked Marie, watching them compare college brochures. When you gave them the chance to, she replied. But for every exciting step forward, change brought new anxieties. What if I'm not smart enough? Jasmine worried over her NYU letter. What if I get injured? Kira stared at her basketball scholarship. What if we get separated? Maya and MIA clutched their MIT acceptances. James gathered them all in the media room. Listen to me, he said. You are ready. You are capable. You are strong. And no matter where you go, this is always home. The younger girls felt the shift too. Zoe doubled down on her art, preparing her portfolio early. Olivia pushed harder in gymnastics. Angela sang louder, like she could keep her sisters home with music. One morning, James found Angela in Destiny's room, curled up in her sister's bed. I don't want you to go, she whispered when Destiny found them. Hey, sunshine. Destiny sat beside her. I'm not leaving you. I'm just growing up. Like you will. Promise you'll come back. Wild horses couldn't keep me away. James watched from the doorway, his heart full and breaking simultaneously. The house began to change. College preparations took over, Destiny researching dorm essentials. Jasmine practicing audition pieces. Kira training harder than ever. The twins experimenting with video chat systems. But something else was happening too. Secret conversations. Hush planning sessions. They are up to something, Marie warned. Let them be, James said. They deserve their secrets. He had his own preparations to make. Each future dorm room carefully planned. Travel arrangements studied. Emergency protocols established. You can't protect them forever, Dr. Warner reminded during their family session. Watch me try. But he knew she was right. His job wasn't to shield them anymore. It was to prepare them. To trust the foundation they'd built. The younger girls stepped up naturally. Zoe took over morning hair duty. Olivia learned to cook basic meals. Angela mastered the laundry, mostly. See, Destiny told him. They are ready too. Spring brought graduation preparations. James threw himself into planning. Maybe too much. Dad, Jasmine interrupted his third revision of the party setup. We're okay. Really? He looked at her. Really looked. When had his girls gotten so wise? The house felt different. Like it was holding its breath. Waiting. College orientation packets arrived. Housing forms. Meal plans. James helped fill them out. Each signature another step toward letting go. But for every ending, new beginnings bloomed. Destiny's first byline in the local paper. Jasmine's leading role in the senior play. Kira's team heading to state finals. The twins' research project gaining national attention. Your daughters are remarkable, his board chairman admitted during a meeting. I know, James said simply. The secret planning continued. James caught whispers, saw hidden notebooks. Just wait, Angela told him with a conspiratorial grin. He did, trusting them. One evening, helping Destiny pack college brochures, he found her crying over old photos. I was so scared, she admitted. That first day, thought it was too good to be true. Me too. Thank you, she whispered. For fighting for us. For believing in us. Thank you for letting me. The house filled with graduation gifts. College supplies. Future dreams. But also memories. First day photos. Family vacation souvenirs. Holiday traditions. Movie night blankets. Game night trophies. We should make a scrapbook, Zoe suggested. For the college kids, they spent weekends collecting memories. Each photo a story. Each story a piece of their journey. James found himself in his study more often, watching old videos, first Christmas together, beach vacation, basketball games, school plays, dance recitals, science fairs, growth measured in moments. You did good, Sarah, he told her portrait. They're everything you dreamed of. More. The secret planning peaked. Notes passed. Whispered conferences. Just a little longer, Destiny promised when he asked. So he waited. Trusted. Believed. Like he had from the beginning. Like they had in him. The house hummed with anticipation. Change coming. Growth happening. But under it all, love. Stronger than distance. Deeper than fear. Family. Forever. Home. Growing together, even as paths diverged. James watched his daughters, all of them, and finally understood. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, and they were ready. All of them. Together. Dad, you need to leave for exactly 4 hours. James looked up from his morning coffee to find all 8 daughters staring at him intently. Angela bounced on her toes, barely containing her excitement. I need to what now? Leave. 4 hours. Destiny checked her phone. Starting in 20 minutes. And if I ask why, then we'll have to deploy the puppy eyes, Jasmine warned. All 8 of us. You've never survived all 8. James raised his hands in surrender. 4 hours. Should I dress for anything specific when I return? The blue suit, Kira decided. The one from the charity gala. Something was definitely happening. James had noticed the signs all week. Hush phone calls. Mysterious deliveries. The twins' suspicious grocery runs. Zoe disappearing into her art room for hours. Henderson and Marie's knowing smiles. 4 hours, he agreed. As he backed his car out of the driveway, he caught glimpses of immediate activity. Destiny directing traffic. Jasmine carrying what looked like sound equipment. The twins with their laptops. Olivia and Angela unrolling something large. James drove to his office, trying not to worry. His phone buzzed with a text from Destiny. No coming home early. We have lookouts. He smiled. When had his daughters gotten so efficiently sneaky? 3 hours and 55 minutes later, his phone buzzed again. Park at the gate. Wait for escort. James pulled up to find Olivia waiting in a blue dress he'd never seen before. Follow me, good sir, she said formally, then giggled. The driveway was lined with fairy lights. Music drifted from behind the house, Angela's choir singing something he couldn't quite make out. Olivia led him to the backyard gate. Ready? Should I be nervous? Maybe a little. She opened the gate. The backyard had transformed. Lights twinkled everywhere. White chairs faced a large screen. Familiar faces filled the seats, teachers, coaches, friends they'd made along the way. Betty from the diner on their first road trip. Miss Thompson from the orphanage. Dr. Warner. Even Mrs. Patterson. This way. Olivia tugged his hand. Front row. Center seat. 7 other chairs beside it. Dad. Angela appeared in a matching blue dress. You look handsome. One by one, his daughters emerged, all in coordinating blue. Destiny, poised, camera ready. Jasmine, theatrical flair in every step. Kira, athletic grace. The twins, matching mischievous grins. Zoe, paint still on her fingers. Olivia and Angela, barely containing their excitement. What is all this? Sit. Destiny pointed. Watch. The screen flickered to life. Music swelled, Jasmine's voice, singing Sarah's favorite song. Images appeared. Their first family photo, awkward and uncertain. James attempting his first braid on Angela's hair. Christmas morning chaos. Beach vacation joy. Basketball victories. Science fair triumphs. Dance recitals. Art shows. Family game nights. Then interviews began playing. He fought for all of them, Miss Thompson admitted. Never wavered. Changed our whole curriculum, Dr. Richard said. Made us better. Best dad ever, Angela's tiny face declared. He learns to do hair. Remember that first road trip? Betty smiled. 8 hungry girls and 1 determined daddy. Knew right then, that was real family. More photos, Destiny's first published article. Jasmine's drama awards. Kira's championship game. The twins' science breakthrough. Zoe's art gallery opening. Olivia's gymnastics medals. Angela's choir solos. But it's the small moments, Destiny's voice narrated. The ones no camera caught. Late night talks in his study. Band-aids on scraped knees. Homework help. Nightmare comfort. Silent understanding. Unwavering love. He chose us, Jasmine's voice continued. All of us. When no one else would. Taught us to be strong, Kira added. To be smart, the twins chimed in. To be creative, Zoe said. To be brave, Olivia whispered. To be family, Angela finished. The screen filled with a new photo, James's empty mansion from 3 years ago. Then transformed to now, homework on tables. Sports gear by the door. Art on walls. Music in air. Love everywhere. 3 years ago, Destiny's voice said, 8 unwanted girls met a lonely man. Everyone said it wouldn't work, Jasmine continued. Too many kids. Too different. Too hard. Everyone was wrong, Angela declared. The screen showed their latest family photo, 9 smiles. 9 hearts. 1 family. The video ended. Lights came up. James realized he was crying. His daughters surrounded him. Destiny knelt before him. You saved us. No, he managed. You saved me. More surprises followed. Teachers sharing stories of transformation. Coaches praising determination. Friends celebrating connection. Community admitting change. Mrs. Patterson stood. I was wrong, she announced. This is what family looks like. The party moved inside. Food appeared. Everyone's favorites. Dancing started. Jasmine leading choreography. Kira showing off moves. The twins attempting robot dances. Zoe teaching Angela to waltz. Olivia spinning perfect pirouettes. Destiny watching, documenting every moment. James danced with each daughter. Destiny, discussing future dreams. Jasmine, dramatic dips included. Kira, sports metaphors flying. Maya and MIA, synchronized steps. Zoe, artistic interpretation. Olivia, gymnastic flair. Angela, standing on his feet like always. One more surprise, Destiny announced. A cake appeared, massive, decorated with photos and frosting. World's Best Dad, written in 8 different hands. Make a wish, Angela urged. James looked at his daughters. Really looked. Destiny, confident leader she'd become. Jasmine, starring in her own life. Kira, strong and steady. The twins, brilliant individuals. Zoe, artist soul blooming. Olivia, finding her balance. Angela, pure joy personified. Don't need to, he said. Got everything right here. Later, after guests left, family remained. 9 people piled onto couches meant for 4. 8 heads resting various places. 1 heart full beyond measure. Thank you, James whispered to sleeping daughters. For choosing him. For fighting through. For becoming family. The house settled around them. No longer mansion. No longer empty. Home. Forever. Love. Morning light filtered through the living room windows, finding 8 girls and their father still sprawled across couches and floors, remnants of the celebration surrounding them. James woke first, taking in the scene. Angela curled against his side, Destiny asleep in his favorite armchair. The twins somehow intertwined on a single love seat. Jasmine, Kira, Olivia, and Zoe spread across the floor on a nest of blankets and pillows. 3 years ago, he'd woken to silence. Now, even in sleep, his house hummed with life. Destiny stirred first, always the early riser. Dad? What time is it? Early. He carefully shifted Angela. Coffee. They moved to the kitchen, stepping over sleeping sisters. So, he said, starting the coffee maker. Last night. Did we surprise you? Completely. He smiled. When did you start planning? Remember that first family meeting? When you said we were stuck with you forever? She poured coffee into their matching World's Best Dad mugs, last year's Father's Day gifts. That's when I knew we needed to tell our story. Show you what you gave us. What we gave each other, he corrected. More movement. Jasmine appeared, hair wild. Is there coffee? Soon the kitchen filled, everyone finding their morning places. Angela claiming her usual spot on the counter. The twins comparing notes on phones. Kira stretching post-sleep muscles. Zoe sketching on a napkin. Olivia doing morning splits. Jasmine practicing scales quietly. Normal. Perfect. So, Destiny cleared her throat. We should talk about plans. James tensed slightly. College loomed closer every day. Harvard has parent orientation next month, she continued. And NYU's drama department wants Jasmine to visit. And Ukin's basketball camp starts in June, Kira added. MIT offers family housing, Maya said. We've been researching options, MIA finished. James looked at his older daughters. Really looked. No longer scared girls in an orphanage. Strong. Ready. We'll figure it out, he promised. Together. The doorbell interrupted. Henderson appeared with a surprised expression. Sir, the adoption agency board is here. James frowned. They hadn't scheduled, but Destiny smiled. Right on time. In his study, James found Miss Thompson and the board members who'd once doubted him. Mr. Morrison, Matthews began. We've been following your family's progress. 3 years, Miss Thompson cut in. 3 years ago we thought you were making a mistake. The biggest mistake, another board member admitted. Instead, Matthews continued, you've shown us what's possible. When someone chooses love over convenience, family over convention. Miss Thompson placed a folder on his desk. We'd like you to consider joining our board. Help other families find what yours did. Before James could respond, voices drifted in. Dad, pancakes are ready. Tell Jasmine to stop singing in the kitchen. I'm practicing. Dad, Angela's putting syrup in my hair. I am not. He smiled at the board. Speaking of family, they followed him to controlled breakfast chaos. His daughters, used to audiences now, barely paused, Destiny setting places. Jasmine dramatically flipping pancakes. Kira arm wrestling Olivia for the last bacon. The twins conducting impromptu syrup viscosity tests. Zoe adding artistic flourishes to pancake designs. Angela conducting the entire scene. Still think I made a mistake? James asked quietly. Miss Thompson wiped her eyes. I think you made magic. After breakfast, the girls insisted on visiting their old orphanage. Full circle, Destiny explained. The brick building looked smaller somehow. Inside, new children played. New stories waited. A group of sisters, for this time, watched them cautiously. Hi, Angela bounced over. I like your braids. James watched his daughters interact with the children. Destiny sharing her journalism dreams. Jasmine teaching theater games. Kira starting a basketball circle. The twins explaining basic science experiments. Zoe drawing portraits. Olivia demonstrating cartwheels. Angela leading songs. See, Miss Thompson said softly. Magic. A young couple arrived for their first adoption meeting. Looking overwhelmed. Scared. James recognized that look. His daughters noticed too. One by one, they shared their story. Family isn't about matching, Destiny told them. It's about loving, Jasmine added. And trying, Kira said. And learning, the twins chimed. And creating, Zoe showed her sketches. And growing, Olivia demonstrated. And belonging, Angela hugged James. The couple left with hope in their eyes. Back home, James found Destiny in his study, looking at college brochures. Scared? He asked. Terrified. She smiled. But ready. One by one, his daughters drifted in, Jasmine to run lines. Kira to discuss training schedules. The twins to share research ideas. Zoe with new artwork. Olivia to plan routines. Angela to practice choir songs. Family meeting. Like always. Remember our first night here? Destiny asked. Everything felt huge, Jasmine said. And quiet, Kira added. And uncertain. The twins remembered. And scary, Zoe admitted. But also safe, Olivia smiled. Like home, Angela declared. James looked at Sarah's portrait. Think she'd be proud. She is, Destiny said firmly. We all are. They plan futures, college visits, summer programs, fall schedules, holiday returns. Always together. Different paths. Same heart. Later, they gathered for their traditional Sunday portrait session. Zoe set up her camera. Wait, James said. He pulled out the first photo they'd ever taken together. Placed it beside Zoe's latest sketch. Then, now, growth captured in moments. Perfect, Zoe decided, starting the timer. They arranged themselves naturally, Destiny beside James. Jasmine striking a pose. Kira tall and proud. The twins perfectly synced. Zoe racing back to her spot. Olivia graceful as ever. Angelo in front, beaming. Click. James studied the new photo. No longer strangers. No longer broken. No longer alone. Family. That evening, they had their usual Sunday dinner. Laughter filled every corner. James watched his daughters, Destiny writing tomorrow's stories. Jasmine creating new dreams. Kira planning next games. The twins inventing futures. Zoe capturing moments. Olivia defying gravity. Angela singing joy. Love made visible. Dad? Angela asked later, as he tucked her in. Are you happy? James thought about empty mansions. About lonely dinners. About silence filled with love. About 8 hearts choosing his. Happier than I ever dreamed possible. The house settled around them. No longer too big. No longer too quiet. No longer incomplete. Home. Family. Forever. Love. Full circle. Perfect.